So today we're going to talk about how to build an empire by not complaining. Coffee cup today, CSC, Computer Sciences Corporation. So I worked for Computer Sciences Corporation when Nichols Research Corporation got bought out. Nichols had done a great job of building and installing two gigantic supercomputers, one for the Army Corps of Engineers over in Vicksburg, Mississippi, one for the Missile and Space Intelligence Center in Huntsville, and CSC wanted that business. Well, best way to do that, buy the company, business comes along with it. You get the people who did it, you get their expertise, and you get the current business along with all the goodwill that goes along with it. Well, unfortunately, for a lot of people, you can't just buy that little piece of the business. You had to buy the whole company. So here are the rest of us who don't do supercomputing at all. We were weapons analysts. We did intelligence, or we did weapons analysis, weapons development, and we didn't fit cleanly into the Computer Sciences Corporation, into their business structure. In addition, in Nichols, the people at Nichols felt that they were a little bit of an elite organization, so they felt that they should have been treated better than just simply getting an announcement. Whole lot of things to say. Wow, a lot of people left. They were not happy with being sold without being consulted, because a lot of these people were shareholders and significant shareholders. They were not happy at working for Computer Sciences Corporation because Computer Sciences Corporation didn't really understand what they did and didn't really jibe with the way things had been done, because CSC came in and said, okay, don't know how you've been doing things in the past, but from now on, you're going to do them the CSC way. Well, they didn't want to do it the CSC way. And so they left. A lot of people left. A lot of people left. Let me say here, though, that it wasn't really CSC's fault. CSC worked really hard to keep everybody, to make everybody happy, to do what they could for the people. But these guys, they could not be made happy. But anyway, the problem with CSC, and this is where I first figured out this maxim. The problem with CSC is that they were not named the Weapons Analysis Corporation, right? They were named Computer Sciences Corporation. And so that's where I discovered that you can tell whether you need to be in a job at a company by simply looking at your business card. I didn't do computer sciences, and so I found out that I was out of place. And I did eventually leave, but not before I had a really super experience at CSC. I was manager. I had, what, three, four people who worked for me at Nichols. Um, CSC bought us out, and then all this hullabaloo started. Well, whenever a manager left, they would sweep up the people and give them to somebody. Well, I had made myself very popular with my vice president by going to the Tuesday staff meeting, and after 30, 45 minutes of listening to managers complain about all the problems they were having, when my vice president said, "Jack, anything from you?" I said, "No, things are good." Well, he was just righteously sick of listening to people complain about the changes that CSC was bringing. So he liked me a lot because whatever came up in my division, I handled. So he would sweep stuff up and he would give me a few people, and I would incorporate them into my division and move on. And more people would leave, and he would sweep up the remaining people and give them to me, and I would move on. And every Tuesday I said, "No, no problems." Oh, he loved this very, very much. So I kept getting more people, and I kept getting larger office spaces, and I eventually got my own private secretary and a corner office space with, nice furniture and leather chairs. And I think the thing that sealed the deal was the travel system and the payroll system, because I figured out very early on that the big stumbling block for most people was trying to understand and conform with the new CSC travel system and payroll system. So, what enabled me to say, "No, no problems," was I made a rule. No one is allowed to submit their own travel. No one. Everybody has to go through the division secretary. And I set her to learning the CSC way to travel. So they didn't have to fool with it. They just handed in their receipts and stuff, and then Sandra, who was the division secretary, she put it in the right format. She taped it onto paper. She did whatever had to be done, and then she made sure it was right, and then she submitted it. And as a consequence, I never had any travel requests or travel reimbursement requests rejected from my division. And then the payroll system, I solved that by every Friday at noon, I would close my door and I would do payroll. And I did not submit payroll until it was 100% correct. And so the payroll people never had cause to complain about me, and I never had cause to complain about them. So one Friday afternoon, I was working on payroll, and I got a call from a lady in the CSC travel division, and turns out there had been a mistake on one of our travel reimbursement requests. So I just, like I did in the days, I kept working. I just turned on the speaker phone and I introduced myself, and she told me that she was there to talk about this problem, this mistake. And so she starts yelling at me about somebody's travel and about how this was a mistake and how you shouldn't do that and how this is going to have to be corrected. And I figured out pretty early on that she didn't need me to do anything or say anything. She just needed to yell at somebody. So I sat there and I worked on my payroll, and every so often I would say, okay, I'm sorry we made that mistake. And after a while, she ran out of steam and said, yeah, you know, I can go ahead and pay this. This is okay. I have all the information I need. Thank you for your time. I said, yes, ma'am, anytime, give me a call, and hung up. She was just having a bad day, needed to yell at somebody. I actually really liked the way CSC did things. They did everything in an integrated system, so I just always stayed in this one thing. Anyway, I thought being a manager for CSC was a lot of fun, and I would have stayed there and been a manager forever, except that the name of the company was Computer Sciences Corporation, and I didn't do computer science. I did weapons analysis, I did defense acquisition, I did missiles and radars and infrared seekers and command and control systems. And if your company is named something that you don't do, then you're in the wrong place. And so I left, and it turned out to be probably a good thing, although I was never 100% sure. And that was when I made the change from working artillery rocket systems to working missile defense. But that is a story for another day.